Right. After I just wired my parents their monthly expenses, they uninvited me from family dinner because my brother's new girlfriend didn't like me. So I canceled all payments and pulled away for good. It started with a text, 5 words, no punctuation, no emotion. You weren't invited to dinner, and then a second like an afterthought. Your brother's girlfriend doesn't like you. That was it. No apology, no explanation, just my mother letting me know I was officially uninvited from my own family's table because my brother's girlfriend, an Instagram influencer with a filter addiction and a tendency to fake allergies, didn't like me. And this came just 4 hours after I'd finalized two things. A $120,000 investment into my parents' struggling coffee shop to keep their dream alive, a fully paid 10-day luxury trip to Hawaii as a surprise for their 30th anniversary. I was still holding the confirmation email when the text came in. The hotel upgrade alone was $9,600. Ocean View Private Massage Cabana Champagne on arrival. I'd chosen the package with love, thinking maybe this would finally be the thing that made them look at me the way they looked at my brother. But instead I got that text. I stared at the screen for a long time, my thumb hovering over the reply button. I had a lot I wanted to say, but I just typed, okay. That was it. No more words, just a quiet, okay, from the kid who always showed up, always paid up, always forgave. And then I went to war. Let's rewind a second. I'm the oldest, the forgotten one, the utility son. My brother Nathan, he's the golden boy, the baby, the miracle child they weren't expecting. And by miracle, I mean the freeloading man-child who's failed at 5 different business ventures, wrecked 2 cars I paid for, and somehow still gets treated like he invented gravity. Our family dynamic is simple. Nathan dreams, I pay. He crashes, I clean. He lies, they believe. I breathe wrong. And I'm the problem. At 23, I was already working 2 jobs and sending money home just until things get better. At 26, I co-signed the cafe loan that no bank would touch. At 28, I paid off their second mortgage because my mom couldn't sleep with so much debt hanging over her. Meanwhile, Nathan bought NFTs and started a podcast called Crypto Vibes Only. But sure, his girlfriend doesn't like me. Maybe it's because I called out her pyramid scheme protein powders at Christmas. Or maybe because I didn't fawn over her story about manifesting a Prada bag. But either way, my mom took her side. And this wasn't the first time I'd been excluded. It was just the first time they had the audacity to text me about it directly. The worst part, I hadn't even told them yet that I cut my own honeymoon short to fund their cafe's tax crisis. I had been married for 2 months. My wife was asleep in our hotel room in Barcelona while I was on the phone with their accountant wiring emergency money like it was Monopoly cash. She never complained. She just said, "They're your parents, I get it." But now she was sitting across from me silent, watching my jaw clench around my okay reply. She didn't say a word, just slid her hand over mine and whispered, "You don't have to keep doing this." And something cracked inside me. Not loud, not explosive, just cracked. I walked into my office, sat down at my computer, and opened up my banking dashboard. There it was, the $120,000 wire from last week. Still pending, but reversible. I canceled it. Next, the Hawaii trip. Flights, hotel excursions canceled. I even called the Dolphin Tour Agency and told them my family had decided to swim with sharks instead. Then I opened a folder labeled Family Support on my drive. 157 receipts, years of payments, every grocery run, every mortgage top-up, every doctor bill I paid as a gift neatly filed. I deleted them all and then I blocked their numbers. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't revenge. It was the end of a transaction because that's all I ever was to them. A transaction until now. 2 days passed before the silence broke. That's how long it took before my dad called. Not to ask if I was okay, not to check in, just to say, "Why did the cafe payment bounce?" That was it. Not, "Hey, are you sick?" Not, "We're worried about you." Not even a damn. Hello, just full-on panic mode because the bills didn't magically pay themselves like usual. I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call, then a third. By the 6th missed call, he texted, "This isn't funny, Mason." There it was. Humor. Because my financial servitude was a joke to them. Me pulling away. That was the punchline. I didn't reply. An hour later, my mom tried calling too. No voicemail, just a missed call. She hates voicemail. Says it's too much effort to listen to people ramble. Meanwhile, I once spent 2 hours on hold with a billing company fixing her insurance screw-up. She followed it up with a text. "Are you mad because of the dinner thing? Don't be dramatic." Dramatic. That was rich coming from the woman who once fake cried when Nathan got a speeding ticket because he's just under so much pressure all the time. Let me make something clear. I wasn't mad about the dinner. I was mad about everything that led up to the dinner. The dinner was just the final straw poking the ribs of a camel that had already been dead for a while. Let's talk about Nathan for a second. Nathan's first car, a brand new Mustang. He crashed it within a month, claimed it was a weird curve. Insurance called it texting and speeding. My parents said it's just a lesson. My first car, a hand-me-down Honda with 190,000 miles and a passenger window that wouldn't roll down. I fixed it myself with YouTube videos and duct tape. Nathan's college tuition paid in full despite switching majors 4 times. Mine. I worked night shifts and graduated with $58,000 in debt. Nathan's birthday party last year, a rooftop rented out downtown, Champagne Tower string quartet, a little freaking ice sculpture of his initials. My last birthday, my mom sent me a picture of a cake she baked for Nathan, just in case I wanted to see it. But sure, I'm dramatic. After I canceled all the payments and blocked their numbers, I expected the guilt to show up, that old familiar tightness in my chest, the shame that always followed when I dared to say no. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt still like a machine powering down after years of running on fumes. I went for a walk with my wife that night. Didn't say much, just held her hand. We walked past the bistro we had our first date in. It was quiet, glowing inside. The smell of garlic and wine in the air. She looked at me and said, "You seem lighter." And I said, "I feel like I'm finally standing still in a storm that isn't mine." The next morning, they turned to my aunt. And Vicky is the designated flying monkey of the family. She's the one who sends screenshots when someone posts concerning things on social media. She once called me in a panic because I liked a tweet that said, "Sometimes cutting off toxic family is self-care." She texted me, "Your parents are really hurt. Your mom is crying. You should call them." I replied, "She wasn't crying when she uninvited me to dinner." She didn't respond. I started getting calls from blocked numbers, then one from the cafe's landline. I let them all go to voicemail. My dad left one that said, "I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but the gas bill is past due and the vendors are calling. You better fix this." Not, "Can you help fix this?" Like I broke something by stopping the flow of money. That's the moment it really hit me. Not just a gut punch, but a cold realization that sat deep in my bones. They didn't love me. They loved the version of me that was useful, that paid, that stayed quiet, that apologized when I didn't do anything wrong. The real me, the one who wanted to be heard, to be included, to be treated like a son and not a financial safety net. That version was inconvenient. And then came the kicker. A text from Nathan himself. "Bro, WTF, did you do? Mom and dad are freaking out. They said you're threatening them financially or something. You need to chill and stop acting like a victim." I stared at the message. Read it 5 times. Then I wrote back. "You can Venmo them the gas bill. I'm retired." No reply. I smiled. That night I opened a document on my laptop and titled it Receipts. I started writing everything down, not just the transactions, the moments. Every time I paid, every time I showed up, every time they didn't, because this wasn't revenge anymore. It was a record. I didn't want to forget. And one day when they tried to rewrite the story, I'd have the real version ready to go. And this time I'd be the narrator. 3 days into the blackout, my mom showed up at my office. I'd never seen her there before. Not once. Not when I launched the business. Not when I signed the lease on my new floor. Not even when we landed our biggest client last year and got featured in a local magazine. But now that the money stopped, she was in the lobby wearing sunglasses inside, like she was mourning her financial lifeline. My receptionist buzzed me, confused. Mason, your mom's here." For a moment, I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to hide. Another part wanted to walk down and tell her to leave. I did neither. I walked to the elevator, slow and steady, heart pounding like it knew something big was about to happen. When I stepped into the lobby, she stood up like she was in a scene from a soap opera. "Oh good, you are alive," she said, sarcastic smile and everything. "I wasn't aware there was a search party," I replied flat. She blinked, took off her sunglasses. "Mason, what is going on? Why are you doing this to us?" "Us not. What happened? Not. Are you okay? Not even. I'm sorry. Just straight to the victim script." I walked her into the small side conference room, neutral territory, and shut the door. "You canceled everything," she said. "The utilities, the trip, you even reversed the cafe transfer. Your father is beside himself." "Good," I said. "Mason." I sat down across from her. Calm, measured. "You want to talk? Let's talk. Why was I uninvited to dinner?" Her expression faltered. "What? The dinner?" The one you said I wasn't invited to because Nathan's girlfriend doesn't like me. She crossed her arms. That wasn't personal. You know how sensitive Brittany is. She said you make her feel judged. I do judge pyramid schemes. Yes, she sighed. We just didn't want tension. It was supposed to be a calm evening. Right. I said a calm evening funded by the person you excluded. Silence. She tried again. Mason, we didn't mean to hurt you. You just didn't care if you did. The silence grew louder. Then she switched tactics. Her voice softened. Her eyes did the fake shimmer thing she'd perfected when she wanted something. We're not asking for anything big, just a little help until the cafe stabilizes. I leaned back. I gave you $120,000. That was an investment. No, that was a lifeline. You just didn't like the fact it came with expectations. She shifted in her seat. You've always had such a martyr complex. Funny. I thought I had a provider complex, and then she dropped the real bomb. Do you know what your brother said after all this? He said you've always been jealous of him. That this is just your way of acting out. I didn't flinch. That sounds exactly like something he'd say. He's hurting too. From what? The stress of being carried through life like a handbag. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. You've changed, she said, cold. No, I said I just stopped paying for your silence. We sat there staring at each other. She looked like she wanted to cry. Not because she was sad, but because her usual tools, guilt, deflection, manipulation, weren't working anymore. Then she stood up. If you want to destroy this family over a dinner, that's your choice. I didn't move. I didn't destroy anything I said. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. And then she left. No hug, no goodbye, just a huff and a slam door that didn't quite echo as much as she probably wanted it to. That night, Nathan posted a photo on Instagram. He and Brittany holding cocktails captioned, "Celebrating clarity. Some people subtract from your peace, protect your circle." No mention of me. But I was tagged in a comment, one of his followers, "Didn't your brother pay for that cafe?" Nathan replied, "Not really. He gave us money and tried to control it." Not the same thing. Control. That's what they were calling it now. Funny because for years, all I did was give. Money, time, energy, grace. Now that I wanted a seat at the table, I built suddenly I was a threat. After my mom's surprise ambush at the office and Nathan's cryptic Instagram flex, something inside me switched. No more just ignoring them, no more letting them write the script. If they wanted a show, I'd give them a performance they wouldn't forget. So I started pulling strings. See, they forgot who they were dealing with. I didn't just invest in the family business. I rebuilt it. I created their online ordering system. I got them listed in 3 local tourism guides. I streamlined their POS system when Nathan kept forgetting how to do basic inventory. And best of all, I owned 40% of it legally, quietly. Filed through an LLC with my signature because I believed in protecting my own until now. I called my lawyer Danielle Sharp fast and cold as stone when she needed to be. I'm ready, I told her. Time to make it official. She didn't even need to ask what I meant. We had the paperwork filed within 48 hours, a notice of dissociation from the LLC, withdrawal of capital, and a formal demand for repayment or dissolution. But I didn't stop there. I sent a copy to every vendor the cafe worked with, politely informing them that I was no longer associated with the business and that any unpaid balances going forward would not be covered by me. You know what vendors do when they hear that kind of thing? They panic because my name was the one that got them net 60 payment terms. Mason Walters was the stability behind that business. Not Nathan, not my parents, me. Within a day, the cafe's espresso supplier paused all deliveries. Their paper goods rep reached out asking if we should freeze the account until clarity is reached. And their POS subscription. That was under my email. Click. Cancelled. By Thursday morning, the cracks were already showing. A mutual friend texted me. Yo, did you pull out of your parents' business? Nathan's blowing up in group chat saying you tanked the cafe. I didn't reply, but I did upload something to my personal Instagram. A rare move since I barely post. It was a photo of my office window skyline in view, my wedding band slightly visible as I held a mug that said, "Nobody's backup plan." The caption, "Reminder, just because you kept them afloat doesn't mean they won't act like you're the reason they're drowning." No tags, no names, just truth. The post blew up. Quiet likes from people I hadn't heard from in months, former classmates, business contacts. Even a couple of my dad's friends who once praised me behind closed doors, but never publicly. It was a ripple and they felt it. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Wow, that post real classy. Hope you're proud of burning down your own family. I saved the number under probably Nathan. Didn't reply. Instead, I opened the folder I'd started my receipts file and added a new section, public gaslighting screenshots, voicemails, dates, transaction history. Not because I wanted revenge, but because people like them rewrite history unless you have it written down in ink, and I wasn't going to let them keep the pen this time. Friday morning, I got a call from Danielle. Are you sitting down? I was. She laughed. Nathan just tried to call the bank and say you had no right to pull out funds because you're not involved in operations. I grinned. Let me guess. He didn't know what managing partner meant. Bingo. Apparently he got so frustrated he hung up and told the banker. My brother's ruining my legacy. His legacy. The cafe I funded, branded, and rescued 3 times. His legacy. I sat in my office for a long time that morning, not because I was sad, but because I was finally feeling the weird, unsettling calm of freedom. The cords were cut, and the fallout that was on them now. My wife came into the room with coffee. She looked at me for a second, cautious. You okay? I looked at her. I think I am, I said. Then I added, I think I've been waiting my whole life to stop being their son and start being me. She smiled. About damn time. By Saturday morning, Nathan finally cracked. He posted a full-blown meltdown on Facebook. A long, rambling wall of text that began with, family should be about love, not control, and ended with, I just want peace, but some people only care about power. Let's break it down. He framed himself as the victim. He never mentioned me by name, but referenced a relative who sabotaged the business out of spite. He ended it with a Bible quote, because of course he did. The comments, a mixed bag of enablers, clueless family friends, and a few brave souls who saw through the BS. Praying for healing, Dove. Everyone has their side. Stay strong, Blue Heart. And my personal favorite. Wait, wasn't Mason the one who built the cafe's website and paid off their rent last year? That comment disappeared within the hour. Classic Nathan. Transparency makes him itch. My phone didn't stop buzzing all day. People from our hometown, old coworkers, distant cousins. Everyone wanted context. Everyone wanted the tea. I gave none except to one person, and Camille, the only member of the family with a spine not made of jello and guilt. She called me that evening. You okay? She asked, voice steady. Doing better than expected, I said. I figured. Just so you know, Nathan's been calling everyone, telling them you're trying to steal the business and cut the family off. I laughed. From what emotional abuse and unpaid invoices? She snorted. I just wanted you to know I'm not buying his version. I remember the Christmas you paid to have the cafe's pipes replaced. I remember you skipped your honeymoon because your mom needed surgery, and I remember how they forgot your birthday 4 years in a row. My throat tightened for a moment. That last one I hadn't even realized someone else noticed. Thanks, Aunt Camille. Don't thank me, just don't let them spin it. Truth deserves a mic too. So I gave it one. I didn't go full social media scorch. That's not my style. But I did write a long post. Not angry, not bitter, just honest. I wasn't going to say anything publicly, but after a few messages, I feel I should clarify. I supported my family financially for 10 years. I paid bills, funded businesses, and covered emergencies. I did it quietly without conditions. I was excluded from family events, belittled, and made the scapegoat when I began setting boundaries. Recently, I chose to step back, not to hurt anyone, but to protect myself. I'm sharing this not for pity, but for clarity. Boundaries are not betrayal. Silence is not guilt. And walking away from manipulation isn't cruelty, it's survival. No names, no drama, just facts. It went semi-viral in our local network. Comments flooded in. People shared their own stories. Some messaged me privately to say, I needed to hear this. Others tagged their own family members. One even wrote, this is exactly what happened with my sister Nathan. Silent. For the first time in his life, he didn't have a comeback because the truth didn't need one. The next day, my mom sent a message through a family friend. A voice memo. I didn't want to listen, but curiosity won. Her voice was soft, theatrical. Mason, I don't know what's happened to you. You used to be kind. You used to care about us. I never thought you'd turn the whole town against your own family. This isn't you. We raised you better than this. I played it again. This isn't you. Funny, because for the first time in my life, I was pretty damn sure it was. On Monday, Danielle called me again. You ready for the update? Hit me. She paused. So we got the financials, and Nathan's been cooking the books. What? He's been transferring money from the cafe's accounts to a separate consulting firm registered under his name. No employees, no office, just a shell. How much? About $28,000. I sat back in my chair. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was fraud. Nathan always thought being the fun one would save him. He believed charm could cover incompetence. That if he posted enough inspirational quotes and smiled hard enough in family group photos, the world would forget he'd never held down a real job for longer than 6 months. But numbers don't lie. And Danielle's report didn't smile. $28,000. That's how much Nathan siphoned out of the cafe under the label. Consulting services to himself. No invoices, no contractors, no deliverables, just payments sent to a shell company listed at a P.O. box. One he never mentioned to anyone, not even my parents. It would have gone unnoticed too if I hadn't withdrawn from the business and requested a full financial audit as part of my exit. What he didn't understand was that removing me from the business didn't just unplug the money, it opened the curtains. I scheduled a meeting with my parents. One last conversation. I chose a neutral place, a business suite I sometimes use for client meetings. Clean, professional, with just enough formality to keep emotions on a leash. They walked in together. Dad looked stiff, arms crossed. Mom wore sunglasses again indoors. Classic. Nathan was not invited. "Thank you for coming," I said. No warmth. They sat. Didn't speak. I placed a folder on the table and slid it forward. "These are financial records from the cafe." Dad glanced at it, unmoved. "We've seen the books." "No, you've seen what Nathan showed you. This is the full report from our shared accountant." Silence. $28,000. Gone. Paid to a company that doesn't exist outside of a P.O. box and Nathan's Venmo account. Mom flinched. Dad didn't react. "He's been stealing from you," I said. "From the business. From the same cafe I helped save 3 times. Dad grunted. "That's not possible. It's already been verified. The money trail is clean. The LLC is fake. He's been drawing cash for months. While I was covering your back, he was robbing your pocket." My mom opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You don't have to believe me. You'll be hearing from the IRS soon. Danielle submitted the paperwork this morning." They left without speaking, no apology, no anger, just stunned silence. That night Nathan messaged me. "You couldn't let it go, huh? You always needed to be the hero. You think they'll love you now? Newsflash, they still won't. You ruined everything." I replied with a screenshot of the financial report. No words. He left it unread. 2 days later, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in 10 years. "Mr. Jennings, my high school business teacher." Subject line: "Saw your post. Proud of you." He wrote, "I remember when you stayed after school to print job applications while your brother was getting a new car. You said you didn't mind. You said he needs more help than I do. You were wrong. He didn't need help. He needed boundaries. I'm glad you finally gave him one." I sat with that email for a long time because it hit something deep. I spent most of my life thinking I was stronger for taking on more, for holding silence instead of making waves, for fixing what I didn't break. But now I realized strength wasn't swallowing injustice. It was walking away from it. A week later, the cafe shut down. No announcement, no farewell post, just a note on the door. Closed until further notice. I didn't celebrate. I didn't laugh. I just sat in my office sipping coffee. I brewed myself and whispered, "I tried because I did. God knows I did." Then something unexpected happened. A woman came to see me. She was tall, early 40s, wore a tired cardigan and eyes that had seen too much. She introduced herself as Angela, the cafe's former bookkeeper. "I heard what happened," she said. "I just wanted to thank you for what I asked, for caring enough to blow it up before it got worse." She slid a tiny envelope onto the table. Inside was a note, handwritten, crumpled, clearly torn from a notebook. "I'm sorry. You were always the one who showed up. I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't know how to feel, but I folded the note carefully and put it in the same drawer as the cafe's business license. They both belonged to the past now." Nathan showed up at my building. No call, no warning, just his beat-up Audi double parked out front like entitlement had its own valet service. I watched him from my office window, hands in his pockets, pacing like a man preparing for a role he hadn't rehearsed well enough. I could have ignored him. Should have, maybe. But I told the receptionist, send him up. If he wanted one last scene, I'd give him the ending he never expected, a quiet one. He walked in like he was late to something important, like I owed him minutes he was generous enough to spend. "Mason," he said, nodding like this was a job interview and not a fallout. Nathan. Silence. He looked around the office like it was an alien planet. Then he sat down across from me and leaned forward. You didn't have to do it like this, didn't I? I asked calmly. You humiliated them. You embarrassed the whole family. No, I said. They did that when they chose silence over accountability. I just stopped covering it. You think you're the good guy? No, I think I'm the one who finally got tired. He shifted in his chair, eyebrows raised expression, shifting to that tired smirk he wore when he thought he could win people over. I was under pressure. All right. I was trying to make the cafe profitable by stealing from it. It wasn't stealing, he snapped. I was paying myself back for all the hours I put in. You mean the hours you spent creating TikToks and burning through the budget for vegan oat bars nobody bought? His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. I'm not perfect, he said. No, I replied. You're practiced. He looked down. No comeback this time. I came here, he said slowly, because Mom's not doing great. She barely talks. Dad shut down. I know you hate them, but I don't hate them, I said sharply. I grieve them. That's different. More silence. I lost a brother too, I added. He looked up at me, something flickering in his eyes. I know you think I had it easy. You did, I cut in. And you still do, because even now you're not here to apologize. You're here to make me feel bad for making you feel consequences. He sank into the chair like my words were gravity. You're right, he finally muttered. I screwed up. I leaned forward and he hesitated. I don't know how to fix it. You don't, I said, because you're not supposed to. He looked up. I'm not coming back, Nathan. Not to the family. Not to the business. Not to the role you all wrote for me without my consent. That version of me, he's gone. We sat in the silence that followed. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hostile. It was just final. He stood up. I guess this is it then. I nodded once. He walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth, he said, I really thought you were the strong one. I was, I said, and now I'm free. That night I cooked dinner with my wife, just us Jazz playing low, her humming while she stirred something on the stove, and I realized the version of me who needed their approval was gone. And what took his place? A man who chose peace over permission. I never expected peace to feel so quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes with loneliness or sadness, but the kind that happens after a storm when the windows stop rattling and the air finally settles. That's what life feels like now. Still not empty. Whole. It's been 3 months since Nathan came to my office. 2 since the cafe officially closed for good. Once since my parents tried to send a letter through their attorney asking to open a conversation. Danielle called me the same day and asked how I wanted to respond. I told her we already did. They just didn't listen the first time. She smiled. No reply then. None. And I meant it because the thing about closure, it's not something they give you, it's something you choose. I donated the last of the cafe receipts to a community center that helps young entrepreneurs. I figured if something good was going to come from those years of giving, it wouldn't be pity, it would be purpose. The cafe died. But I didn't. I'd build something better in its place. A business that's thriving. A marriage rooted in truth. A future I don't have to earn through suffering. One night my wife and I hosted dinner at our place. Just us 2 close friends, her sister and husband, and our neighbor, who always brings amazing wine but can't cook to save his life. Someone raised a glass and said to Mason, who quietly does more than most people will ever see. I laughed. It was warm, casual. But later that night when we were cleaning up, my wife asked, "What were you thinking about when he said that?" And I said that I used to want them to say things like that. She didn't say anything, just reached out and held my hand. I haven't blocked my parents, not because I want to talk, but because I no longer flinch when they try. Their emails left unread, their calls ignored, their words powerless. And Nathan. I heard through a friend that he moved in with Brittany's parents. He started a new podcast called Reset. Fitting name for a guy who hits restart every time accountability knocks. I don't hate him, I just don't need him. Last week I received a letter. Handwritten, no return address. The handwriting was my mother's. It said, "We're sorry. We don't know how to fix it, but we're trying. We miss you. We're proud of you. We hope that means something." I folded it once, placed it in a drawer with the others, and I went back to my life because I don't live in that house anymore. The one where silence meant guilt. Where sacrifice was expected, not appreciated. Where my worth was measured by how quietly I gave and how quickly I forgave. No, I live here now in a space I built on terms I chose with people who don't ask for my loyalty like it's a down payment, but offer love like it's a shared key. They lost a son they didn't deserve, but I found a man they never allowed me to be. And I'm not going back. Not for guilt, not for blood, not for anything.